Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
This is James Morgan, NWA and Mach 1 Wrestling Superstar.
This is Chris Masters, the Masterpiece.
This is Downtown Bruno. This is Eric Watts from WWE Tough Enough.
Mikey Nova.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy, Sean Black.
This is Jess Bella from Santino Brothers.
Gorgeous Joey Chaos.
Yo, monkeys, it's me, DDP, Diamond Dallas Stage, and you are watching Dads on Wrestling.
The Dads on Wrestling.
Dad's on Wrestling.
Dads on Wrestling.
On YouTube.
Week on YouTube.
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. Now stay tuned, or you will feel the bang!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of the Dads, not always on wrestling, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, as well as the Jeff Meacham Network. I am the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams.
Yes, sir.
He is the West Coast Professor Jeff. We're not 10 minutes in yet. Meacham. And today's going to be a fun one, but an interesting one.
Definitely a different one.
We're going to be taking a look at the top 10 National Wrestling Alliance, NWA, World Tag Team Champions. Not the other NWA, ends with attitude. We're not doing that. You're not going to see Eazy-E, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, the Arabian Prince, any of those guys all up on this list. No.
Nay.
The National Wrestling Alliance. And this was kind of hard to try to come up with two separate lists because...
Well, definitely.
Because at the end of the day, we're going to have a lot of repeat offenders, if you will.
We will, especially you and I.
So we decided we're just going to collaborate on this one, much like we've done most of this month.
Yeah,
it comes off a little bit as like a cop out,
right?
But if you're going to have that many repeats, just like John Lennon said, come together.
That's it.
And we'll get to that in a couple of weeks. A little bit of foreshadowing there.
There you go.
But and we really only went up until the TNA era of the National Wrestling Alliance because
yes.
Post TNA era, there really wasn't a lot of exposure on the NWA and therefore their tag team champions.
Right.
In fact, there was only one team post TNA era that I even tried to dispute Jeff on.
Yeah.
And we'll get there down the road. We'll throw it in there as an honorable mention before we get to our number one. But really, that was the only post-TNA team that I could really think of that made an impact, so to speak. But that's just me.
And again, both guys went on to make an actual impact within Impact Wrestling, in their careers.
Yes.
One not as positive as the other, if we're being honest. But it's just one of those things that, unfortunately for the NWA, even with the acquisition by Billy Corgan in 2017, the tag. First of all, there's so many damn titles in the NBA now; it's hard to keep track of which champion's which today, and on any level except the world title. Poor George.
And if you're not a fan of his, you're not a wrestling fan.
Clearly. clearly, if you're not a fan of Tyrus, you're not a fan of wrestling, right? Right, Billy? That was one of the worst takes I've ever heard in my life. I'm just throwing that out there. I like Tyrus, he and I are good, but man, what a rough take. Yeah. But the tag team scene, you guys have to remember something. The NWA, right up until 1992, there wasn't one set of NWA World Tag Team Champions. They had their own tag team champions within each NWA territory, which at that point, even in 91, 92, there were territories all over this country. And they couldn't make that one major claim. That's why I could have really easily argued for, Doc and Gordy, because they were the first unified NWA WCW World Tag Team Champions. But again, how do I, it was so hard to quantify, and it was even harder to go, okay, so which team is better? He and I, JJ, are so late in the fandom when we first started watching, as far as the dominance of the NWA, that it was like, okay, we're just going to make this. This is probably going to feel like more of a cop-out episode than anything we've done, because we're just going to go the teams that were first and just go chronologically as far as the 10 teams we ended up choosing.
Because if we're being obscenely honest, the very first NWA World Tag Team Champions I believe I ever saw was America's Most Wanted. Yeah.
And you figure at best that's 2004. Going back to a championship that, if you talk about the NWA World Tag Team Championships that I was exposed to, that goes back to the Mid-Atlantic and the first team on the list, which were the original tag team champions, Gene and Ole Anderson. Before there was Arn and Tully, before there was Arn and Ole even, there was Gene and Ole. And even before Ole, there was Lars Anderson. And I definitely don't have that on my list, Lars on my list, because certainly I haven't seen film of Lars Anderson that is not grainy and unwatchable, because they go back a minute.
I want to make it clear here. I've seen these guys on tape, and I had seen them prior to AMW. I was mentioning in real time.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so I know you haven't seen these guys in real time.
No.
What was your first NWA champion in real time?
It's got to be when they had the tournament in 92. So it would have been Dr. Death and Bam Bam, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, because they won the tournament at the Great American. It was either Great American Bash or on the Clash after. I think they announced it at the Great American Bash, and they had the tournament on the Clash. That was the only pre-taped Clash ever, which made it's like, okay, you're going to have a tournament to crown champions. You're going to have it pre-taped. Okay, cool. WCW 1992, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just leave that where it lay.
What was better though, WCW in 92 or WCW in 2000?
Give me option
or
C.
WWF in 95.
Let me have option D and just have a cyanide capsule, so I don't answer the question.
Okay, TNA in 2010. Anyways, Gene and Ole Anderson.
Yeah. So Gene and Ole, and again, the legacy of the Andersons, goes a little bit into professional wrestling, just a smidge.
Can't be understated, their legacy.
No, and the Andersons themselves as primarily tag team champions. I mean, Lars and Gene, Ole and Gene, Ole and Arn. Arn later on with everybody. If we're being honest,
including Paul Roma,
who they are, and they were NWA Tag Team Champions. They were unified champions, and they sure, we already said it, they sure as fuck aren't on this list, because it was Paul Roma as a Horseman, but he still wasn't the worst. Yep. Sorry, Michael. Sorry, PS. Oof. He wasn't. Go back and watch the show, people. Do your research.
For real.
God damn it. We need the views anyway. But yes, you talk about great NWA World Tag Team Champions, you can't not mention the Anderson family. Period. End of sentence. And you talk about Gene and Ole. You talk about Arn and Ole, who came, later in 85, I believe it was, is when they first became what they were calling the National Tag Team Champions. The terminology used in the early Crockett, the early Horseman era of Crockett it's so confusing, but
Like
Gene
throw that
Ole,
picture back up there of
Arnold Ole.
Yeah. It's hard to look at them sometimes and believe that they really aren't related.
Oh, I know, seriously.
Because there is such a similarity there in features and facial
Yeah,
structure and
I
height
know.
and build. Like
Yep.
if you didn't know the kayfabe and that
Yeah.
they are not related whatsoever, you could absolutely
Yeah.
buy them being
Yeah.
brothers.
These two,
Those two,
yeah,
not so much.
yeah. And then if you look at a picture later of, earlier of Gene and Lars was the only actual freaking Anderson. If we're being blatantly honest, and he was just such a presence, a force in that territory of wrestling that you put that Anderson name on it, on anybody, freaking, I forget what Arn's last name is, so forgive me, but you have Alan Rogoski team up with Gene Anderson. Who? Oh, only Anderson. Oh, shit, he's an Anderson. Excuse the hell me. You have, Marty, whatever, team up with Ole Anderson. Okay, cool. Oh, he's Ole's nephew, Arn. Oh, I ain't messing with this guy. Oh, shit. Ric Flair's their cousin. I ain't messing with this dude either.
Yeah, right?
No. And the Andersons were, I forget who said it on what DVD. I have a few too many wrestling DVDs in my collection. I can't keep them all straight. Forgive me. Yeah. You know what? I think it was the Horseman DVD, because they were talking about when Flair came in, the Andersons were the power. Tully said it. It was Tully that said it. The Andersons were the power in the Southeast. If you put somebody with the Andersons, they were instantly had credibility.
Yeah, they were.
That's the tweet. The Andersons were the power in the Southeast. So the Andersons World Tag Team Champions in an NWA territory meant that you had to go through them to get titles. Good luck with that.
Yeah. I mean, we debate over who the greatest wrestling family is, whether it's like the Harts or the No Eyes or the Rhodeses.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can honestly say without question, 100% Jarrett Conrad style, the Andersons are the greatest kayfabe wrestling family in history.
Without a doubt about it. And, when it's funny you mentioned the Anawahis with the two sides of the Anawahi families main eventing tomorrow night. It's just how awesome is it that this storyline that's been built around Roman Reigns' dominance is being blown off by a tag team match between a family that has been so synonymous with tag team wrestling, the Anawahis. I love it. I love it.
And you rewind back to either 2012 or 2013, and it was Seth and Roman versus the Usos.
Yep.
4 tag team straps at Money in the Bank.
Yeah. Yep. Because it was Seth and Roman that had defeated Team Hell No. Pretty prior there. So yeah, it was, again, the circle of life. But I wouldn't want to
long-term story. Finish it for me, Natalie, at home. Telling. That's right.
Oh, it's not hard to book, kids. It's just a mucker feather to finance. But we digress yet again. Please buy the shirts, because goddamn it, we need the money to finance. Anyway, next team, as far as chronologically speaking, is another team that, yes, they were NWA World Tag Team Champions. Yes, they were a hell of a brother team. And yes, one of them had bigger single success than the other as far as on the main event level. How can you not talk about the impact, the legacy of Jack and Jerry Briscoe, who are legitimate brothers? Jack Briscoe, arguably, definitely on the list, but arguably the best to ever hold 10 pounds of gold, the World Heavyweight Championship, as far as that era of the championship. Yeah. Jerry Briscoe, one of the greatest junior heavyweights of all time. But man, when they were tag team champions, there was no stopping the Briscoes, until, Starrcade 83, when we get to our next team. Let me turn that off. Sorry about that. again, I'm having to keep things active because I have an active family member in the hospital, so I'm trying to keep things.
No, it's all good. We here in the studio with you and at home around the world completely understand what you've been going through lately, sir. We do not begrudge that.
Appreciate that.
Is it sad, though? A sad statement on the legacy of these two gentlemen that when I think of the Briscoe brothers, I think of the Briscoe brothers body shop.
It's worth the drive, baby. And
legitimately like that, because that's the era I came into wrestling. Like I remember them putting that over on commentary. I remember Jerry coming out for his hardcore matches against Pat Patterson wearing the Briscoe brothers shirt. Like, is it sad that this for the legacy and how awesome these two gentlemen were in the ring?
Yeah.
Arguably, as far as like brothers in the business at that time, on par with the Funks.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
And I think Briscoe Brothers Body Shop, when I hear the Briscoes, I legitimately thought that Jay and Mark were one of their kids at first.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Until I realized that they spelled the last name differently. I was like, okay.
Yeah. What's even and Briscoe's not even Jay and Mark's name, which is even funnier when you think about it now. Whenever I hear that commercial, I go, I think of JR. Oh, yeah, Pat's in there doing rear end work now, and it's like, oh, you think about it now, it's like JR was trying real hard to be subtle. That was about as subtle as a sledgehammer. It's like, again, the worst kept secret in wrestling as far as Pat Patterson's lifestyle and
he did it his way, baby.
That's it, baby. He did. He sure as hell did. The biggest impact, though, that Jack and Jerry had, think about it this way. Yes, one of the great NWA Tag Team Championship teams of all time. But their biggest legacy was selling Georgia Championship Wrestling to Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon, in 1984 or 84. And again, without buying Georgia and without it being backlash so heavily by the TBS audience and selling the territory back to Jim Crockett, there's no money to fund WrestleMania. Could be argued, but that's David Crockett's stance.
Yeah.
So, $1 million going to WrestleMania when Vince was leveraging his freaking house, that goes a long way. So without the Briscoes, we might not have WrestleMania. So they're on the list for more than just having tag team championship reigns.
Yeah. It's one more cog in the wheel that people don't think about when it comes to WrestleMania. Like everyone swears WrestleMania is Hulk Hogan. It's like, no. There's Sheik putting the strap on Hogan. There's Piper being that devilish antagonist that everybody wanted to see get his ass whipped at the Garden to help sell it out.
Yep.
There's the Briscoes selling Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Yeah. The Briscoes selling in and of itself isn't it's like, oh God, Vince is but then it's the freaking 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon that gets us to Crockett getting the territory back. And you gotta remember, that sale was the year after the first Starrcade, where the Crockett territory, the NWA as a whole, was cooking with gas. And Vince was trying to find ways to quell that while he was pushing Hulkamania down the national throat, which again worked quite well. But even still,
for a while,
still stutter stepping even at that point. Even as Hogan was taking off in that first, in '84, it was still not. It was still stutter stepping, not freaking throttle down, going down the road into
It worked until the early to mid '90s when people were tired and ready for a change, and Vince didn't want to pull the trigger.
Exactly. This next team was probably the Briscoes' most prolific feud, and I always remember them winning the tag titles at Starrcade '83. Again, I wasn't watching at that point. I was freaking 9 months old when Starrcade '83. No, 8 months old. Yeah, 8 months old when Starrcade '83 went down. So I wasn't exactly watching wrestling on the regular. But Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat. I mean, people.
I wondered who that was because
Yeah.
the way Ricky's head is positioned.
Yeah, it's very hard to
I
see.
thought that was Ricky, but I
Yeah.
wasn't 100%.
Yes. And again, Jay and Ricky were, God, Jay had so much potential, and then Ricky left. And if I remember right, Jay got sick not too long after their feud with the Briscoes had concluded, and they had lost the tag titles again. But again, people don't look back and really let themselves focus and understand. Ricky Steamboat was at the first Starrcade and the first WrestleMania. And so was Roddy. And so were a couple other people.
Yep.
And, Ricky Steamboat, I think, is one of those guys that just was too nice for his own good and didn't, the fans couldn't boo him. They couldn't buy him as anything but the guy that was always thwarting the evil, chasing the titles, chasing the bad guys, taking out the evil within the industry. And I think that breaking him away from Jay, and again, I don't remember all the circumstances back then, but I think they just naturally broke them up after they lost the titles. And I think it definitely hurt Jay Youngblood without a doubt, because his career, and then, his career probably wasn't on a trajectory. And then I remember Mark Youngblood coming in at one point. But I think that Ricky, as great a U.S. champion as he became later, and he had been before that, great TV champion, great world champion at the end of the decade, I just think that these guys and their feud with the Briscoes exist in this little bubble that, thanks to the network, fans today can access. But man, their run with the Briscoes and as tag team champions going back and forth, just, you can feel when you watch these tapes of the Crockett shows, the house shows, the television shows, you can feel the crowd. I liken it to when Earthquake, squashed Hulk Hogan on the Road to Love show, and just the visceral reaction from the crowd and people just mortified about Hogan going down.
Right.
Fans were invested in Ricky and Jay, and I think that was what really made them such a popular and viable team to hold that era of the World Tag Team Championships, because their audience was invested in their welfare, let alone their matches. Babyface 101. Get the crowd to buy into your existence being in jeopardy by these dastardly heels, be it the Briscoes, be it the Horsemen, be it whatever. You will sell tickets. You will make fucking money.
Right.
What you're supposed to do in wrestling, kids.
Yep.
You talk about a babyface team that got people in and in the door and wanting nothing more than to reach out and grab a touch of a team. And if they were ever in peril, my goodness, was it the end of the world as we know it? It was the Rock and Roll motherfucking Express. Because my God, these guys, Ricky's still wrestling today, and he just turned heel in the NWA with his son. It's like, God damn, you talk about long-term storytelling. Ricky Morton's been telling his long-term story for 45 generations or some shit. It's crazy. And freaking Robert Gibson, I think it's one picture where Robert Gibson's eye isn't lazy-eyed. Like, Jesus. I love Robert. I do, but my goodness. Anyway.
You wrong for that.
You
out of line, and you wrong for that.
I out of line, and I'm wrong. I own that shit. It is what it is. But yeah, these guys, it's so funny when you go back and watch, Dark Side of the Ring, talking about the commercial that features Jim Cornette. They have more sex going in the ring than I've had my whole life, and you go, really, Jimmy? Because we've heard about your life outside of the ring, brother. So let's not get too carried away with your bullshit. But anyway. But man, Ricky and Robert, you'd be hard pressed to find a fan of the Crockett-owned NWA territory, and even into the early days of WCW, that if you didn't like the Rock and Roll Express, you might as well pack your shit and move to New York and go root for a WWF team. Like
Yeah.
the Rock and Roll Express was everything in that area of the country and on that superstation every Saturday afternoon, because they just captivated an audience. They were rock and roll stars. They were freaking rock stars before wrestling really had rock stars. Yes, you had the Horsemen. Yes, you had, Dusty and everything. But these guys, these guys and Magnum and Dusty and all the baby faces that were battling the Horsemen and battling the Russians, and just how they did not contract more than just alcohol problems. How they're still not socially diseased, a lot of them, is beyond me, because they were getting so much action after the action.
Woo!
That's right. Very surprising to me. They're not all
turns on
freaking
Space Mountain.
yeah. It's like oldest ride, longest line, baby. Although it's not the oldest ride at Disneyland, but anyway, I digress. I remember getting into WCW in 1990 and 1991. WWF fan first, but I remember watching WCW and not really understanding it, but still feeling it as a 8-year-old boy watching wrestling. The complete devastation of the audience when Ricky turned on Robert and joined the York Foundation. Hi, Terry. Good to see you. And Richard Morton became a thing, teaming with Terrence Taylor and Michael Wall Street as opposed to Mike.
Yeah. I was going to say freaking IRS in there.
IRS in every facet of that character except wearing that dumbass red tie and white dress shirt. Like put Michael Wall Street, put IRS, put VK Wall Street side by side. Figure it out. Oh, red tie. No, that one's different. Yeah. Good job, Mike. Or good job, creative, I should say. But man, Ricky and Robert, and then when they reunited in Smoky Mountain about a year and a half, 2 years later, it was like, oh, thank God. They won NWA championships in the 80s, in the 90s, I think even in the early 2000s. They won the NWA tag titles as part of Billy Corgan's NWA less than 5 years ago. And like I said, Ricky's still wrestling for the NWA now with his son Kerry as the junior heavyweight champion. It's
insane. The
most enduring NWA tag team, I think, by and large.
Yeah.
When you think about NWA tag teams that have stood the test of time, you might go to the Andersons and the Horsemen, but the Rock and Rolls are right there with them.
That's fair.
For me. All right, where are we at here? All right, so just mention the Horsemen. Talk about the Andersons. You talk about, Arn and Ole and everybody. But for me, and I think this is where we can have you wax a little bit more proxy, because we talked so much about them late last year. Arn and Tully. They were the nucleus. They were the glue that held the Horsemen together. Barry was the U.S. champion. Yes. Ric Flair, of course, the world champion, without a doubt. JJ being JJ, not Williams. JJ,
right.
JJ Dillon. JJ Williams is awesome too, and maybe he could be a Horseman manager, someday in a parallel universe.
I've already been told that I would have been a hell of a tag team partner for a certain Hot Scott. So
that's right. And let's unleash that on the world and watch the wrestling world just go, oh God, everybody run!
Hey, I probably would have done better WWE wise than Sean O'Hare did.
But we're not telling you anything you don't already know. Thank you for the layup. Much appreciated. I'll put that shit in for a 3. Or layup would be a 2. That's okay. I don't follow basketball.
Is that the one with the round thing that they call a puck?
Anyway, back to sports ball and professional wrestling. I got my friend Rich coming. We're talking about sports ball, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus. But yeah, Arn and Tully again with Barry as US or Lex as US or whatever, and Ric Flair being the 45-time world champion at that point, still not as many as Charlotte has now.
Right?
Said what I said. Sorry.
I pray to God she doesn't beat Asuka tonight. I will be beside myself tomorrow on the call.
Oh, I know it's gonna be.
It will be a thing.
It'll be a thing, and I'll be groggy as hell coming in from Disney, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, as y'all watch this, I'm getting ready to go on the clock at Disney, so this will be fun.
But
anyway,
to your point,
Arn
and Tully were, prior to Cesaro and Sheamus, they were the bar.
Oh my
They
God,
were the
right?
measuring stick.
Absolutely.
They were what every team in the NWA and Crockett Promotions at that time had to live up to. And every team that came after them. That's why they were champions so many goddamn times. It was like, nope, you're not as good as them. Lose them back.
And
Period.
then them being a team and Lex and Barry beating them and then Barry turning not only got Barry on the trajectory to where he needed to be, flip that switch within Barry Windham, but it got the belts back to the Horsemen and Arn and Tully were off and running. As great as Arn and Tully were, it's sad that from a company standpoint, they were the most underappreciated of the Arn Anderson era tag teams in that point in history. They left for the WWF because they got paid less for a pay-per-view than JJ did.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you're getting paid less than the manager, there's a problem.
Yeah.
You're not going to make Ric Flair money.
Well, of course not.
You should at least be on par with Barry Windham money.
Yeah. And,
but JJ Dillon is getting a fatter paycheck than you. And I get JJ was probably in the office at the time, so maybe a little bit of a double check. But there's still no reason.
No. And what's ironic about this entry is it's very hard to find a picture of the two of them as NWA Tag Team Champions that doesn't have Barry or Rick or Lex or JJ between them. So believe it or not, I did my best. This is actually them as the Brainbusters with the WWF Tag Team titles. So yeah.
I wouldn't have even known if you hadn't busted yourself out like that.
I had no problem busting myself out about it because that just shows how underappreciated they were. Because they didn't do a photo shoot of the two of them with those baby blue straps we kept telling about you want to get your hands on. So yeah, that's why I was like, okay, can't find a picture of them, just two of them. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use it to extrapolate my point because it was just ridiculous that was a thing.
Yep.
Speaking of those baby blues, the next team, people of course associate them more with being WCW Tag Team Champions, but the WCW tag titles evolved from the Mid-Atlantic era / NWA World Tag titles. So definitely on my list. Definitely, they were so good a tag team, they reduced the Freebirds' reign to -6 days. That's how good a team they were. The Freebirds didn't even really hold the titles. Steiners went, nope, your reign's negative. TV tapings were a thing, kids. Look it up. It's a real thing. But
ask the Rockers how TV tapings and title changes go.
Right, seriously. But Rick and Scott, the Steiner brothers, again, Rick's been in the news this year, and Scott's always in the news, and trying to do his math, and it is what it is. But at this point, you'd be hard pressed to find a more athletically credible tech team.
Yeah,
both out of. You can say it. I can't. That school up north. Can't say it out loud without getting my tongue burned off. It's awful. That one state that our buddy Aaron's from.
Michigan State.
No, not state. Just big
Michigan.
Yeah. But yes, both out of that school, both dominant athletes across multiple sports at that school.
Yes.
Brought that into wrestling. Rick, of course, was first. Brought Scotty in, kind of got Scotty, in as a favor because of Rick being there. But once they gelled and got together, they were
Off
what
to
the
the
Road
races.
Warriors could have been.
Yeah.
Because
They
Road
really were.
Warriors won the tag titles in the AWA, in Crockett, NWA, and the WWF, of course. Steiners did it in the NWA, WCW, WWF, but they also did it in Japan. And they also did it across other territories around the world. The Steiners, had they not had the injury bug bite them so early, and we're talking Scott Steiner got injured, I think, in 1992, and this was while he was in a television title push and already trying to break away from Rick even then. But at that point, both of them kept going back and forth with injuries, and I'm sure it had nothing to do with Scotty's experimentations with, getting himself bigger or anything. Couldn't have been that.
No, never.
I think that they would be. It would be easier to make a number ranking for teams like the Steiners because they were that good. I just think that they didn't get enough of the opportunity because of a combination of injuries and, if we're being honest, Crockett / WCW politics and bullshit.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm glad that the Steiners were on the list because
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot lately about a topic that we had an open mic night a few weeks back, where the topic was brought forth about the potential of SummerSlam housing a couple of NXT matches. And I believe it was Josh saying that an NXT title match on SummerSlam would basically go over like a fart in church. Let me ask you something, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Where is SummerSlam going to be this year?
Detroit, there.
Please, just for shits and giggles, say it for me this one time.
Michigan.
Is there a certain NXT superstar who has familial roots from that area?
I think.
That if he were thrown into a match against, I don't know, maybe the NXT World Heavyweight Champion, even though he's a massive heel at this point, would probably get a huge hometown crowd pop?
If y'all think Mello is money now, Mello versus Breaker would be money in Michigan more than anything else.
And especially if Mello beats the hometown boy.
Yes.
Because we already know that he can beat Breaker.
Yes.
He beat Breaker to win the title. He beat Breaker for the rematch.
Yep.
Beating Breaker in Michigan,
Yeah.
or even dropping the title to Breaker
Yep.
in Michigan, since just this week Mello had his Raw debut match.
Yep. And
then letting Breaker have a heel championship run while Mello migrates to the red brand. I'm just saying, people. Josh, if you're watching this, think about that. Let me know on open mic night what you think.
And if you're going to argue with us, prepare your bliss decks or your depends, because you're any one or the other.
But moving right along, dig it in.
All right. This one I've been looking forward to talking about. And I'll tell you, you talk about a team that was destined to go nowhere and did it anyway, and then got, busted up because they went somewhere. Stunning Steve and Flying Brian, the Hollywood Blondes. Holding, by the way, in this picture, won each of the titles because they were unified NWA WCW Tag Team Champions. Yeah. For the record. Again, can't mention these guys without mentioning Steamboat and Shane Douglas at all. Because they were intertwined with one another as tag teams, as opponents. But man, the Blondes, it just wasn't supposed to be a thing, damn it.
Yeah.
And it was.
It wasn't. It wasn't supposed to get over. What? I said it wasn't supposed to get over. What? It was supposed to only be a 1 or 2 time thing. What? And it wasn't supposed to catch fire the way it did. What? Remind you of anything else? What?
Yeah, exactly. And
To the
They
point where
didn't.
crowds are still doing that shit to this day.
Yeah.
What
They
wasn't
didn't.
supposed to get over either, much like the Blondes.
No.
Yeah.
I wish that would get as far gone as yeah. Oh. Hopefully after tomorrow. We'll see. Didn't have matching gear. Didn't have a team name. They were introduced as Flying Brian and Stunning Steve for months. And Brian finally went, all right, we need a name. All right, we need gear. We need gimmicks. Gold chain that Steve still wears to this day.
Yep.
Talks about it all the time. They made you question your own moral judgment because you liked them so much, and they were such assholes and such
But they were
sneaky, shady
good assholes.
Oh, I know.
They were going back to Tully, that cool heel that you just you hated to love and you loved to hate.
Yep. And it's so unfortunate that their match with Arn and Rick's first actual match back with the company after coming back from the WWF, was the main event of the lowest rated Clash of the Champions in history. And that was heaped solely on the Blondes, which is why they were broken up.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, their stuff with those two, with Flair for the old and just railroading the two of them for their age.
Yeah.
And there was so much good. The Hollywood Blondes had so many good moments in such a minute amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
We're still talking about it 30 years later, Jay.
That Flair for the old segment was an appetizer to what you would see in ECW.
Yep.
When Steve did his Hogan stuff.
Yep.
That ended up evolving into the main course that people either love or shit on when he went heel in 01.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the same Steve. Yep. That's how long it was dormant.
Yep. Stunning Steve was a great mechanic. Stunning Steve was a great, working television / U.S. champion for the Dangerous Alliance for Colonel Parker. Superstar Steve was a hell of a wrestler in ECW and a fun promo. The Ringmaster was a great mechanic and a good foil for Ted DiBiase. But Stunning Steve as the Hollywood Blonde, Stone Cold Steve Austin, it's just, and then you got Brian. Again, circumstances are what they are with Brian, and were what they were at that point. But this is the team on this list that even, in hindsight, Dusty's looking back from up above going, I don't know how they did this, baby, but I'm glad they did because they were over. Yeah. And they shouldn't have been for no damn good reason. Because they made it so.
Yeah. Just so you know, before you go into your introduction for the next one, I flip-flopped the two.
You did, and that's fine.
So I felt like if we're going to end on a modern team, we've got to end on the most dynamic, influential,
of course,
modern team
of that era. And since we're going into these two teams, I do want to go ahead and talk about your honorable mention, if that's the case, because these last two teams, while chronologically they are last, I think they are the most visible, the most popular amongst our generation as NWA fans. The two teams here at the end. So the honorable mention that JJ wanted to bring up was booked in the independent Dave Marquez era, right after TNA. I mean, literally right after TNA, because I think they were like the first or second champions after the breakup with TNA. The Real American Heroes, Carl Anderson and Joey Ryan. Again, my stuff with Joey, whatever. These two are entertaining as hell. And this is, almost 2 years after Joey had been the PWG champion. This is, Carl Anderson had, been what they call a good hand, a
Yeah.
guy that would, journeyman style, but there really wasn't journeyman at that point in wrestling because there was no territories to go over the place for at this point. But again, another team that you look, you go, I don't get it, but I'm here for it. By the way, like I said, talking about it the other day, look at Joey's hair. God damn, he's got hair for days. And we're not even talking about his damn chest hair that thankfully the belt's blocking. Good Lord. Magnum Joey Ryan, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Tom Selleck is going, I used to look like that.
I mean, this is pre-Japan Carl Anderson. This is
Yes.
Bullet Club Carl Anderson.
Yes.
This is how I was introduced to Carl Anderson.
Yes.
And my relationship with Joey is well documented.
Yes.
I have a picture with them of me and one of my former friends who now resides in Henderson, Nevada, with the two of them post a show at the old EWF arena.
Oh my goodness.
Each one of us holding their titles.
Right. And if I remember the picture right, Carl's got that screaming face on, which it's just so freaking funny. And if not, then I think of a different one. But
I mean, they had. I think we're both getting ready to say the same point.
Yeah.
Had the NWA had the exposure that it even has today in the Corrigan era, these guys would be more than an honorable mention.
Absolutely. They were fun to watch.
Yeah. And the only time I ever saw the NWA tag titles defended in person, I believe.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. There might have been a couple of championship wrestling, but I don't recall them.
Right.
This is a staunch memory. Like it is ingrained in my brain.
Yes. And that would have been at either the Galaxy or the Showcase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, such good stuff. I also want to mention, before we mention these last two teams, by the way, the last two teams are going to be TNA era teams. Let me just throw that out there now. But I also want to mention other teams from TNA, especially teams you mentioned in our discussion prior to going, recording. 3 Life Crew and Team Canada.
Yes. Oh my God.
We're coming up in a couple of weeks of Scott D'Amore going back into the ring, ill-advised. I think he's crazy, but he's got another Canadian with him who's freaking half machine, half whatever. So it is what it is. But the first time I saw the NWA tag team titles change hands was Team Canada regaining from 3 Life Crew at Turning Point 2004. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. Great match, great series between the Crew and Team Canada, in that last part of 2004.
You've also got the Disciples of the New Church.
Yes, it's true.
Kid Cash in Dallas, the now Lance Archer.
God, I had forgot he and Dave were champion. That's right. Damn.
Two-time champions.
Two-time champions. Wow.
The Naturals, who were champions during the untimely passing of Chris Candido.
Yeah. Yep. Chris, my forever enduring picture of Chris is him with the NWA tag titles on the floor of the Impact Zone. So yeah, there were a lot of amazing TNA era NWA tag team champions. I dare say much more variety. Well, definitely much more variety, but definitely a better dynamic of different tag teams than the 10 pounds of gold in TNA.
For the record, the Real American Heroes were the first champions post TNA era.
Yeah, it was.
And got to give another honorable mention for the team that I talked you out of having on this list, the LAX.
Yes. Specifically, Homicide Hernandez.
Yeah.
With Conan.
Because I hold nothing against that team, but I feel like the team that we're about to throw to here And especially the way they tie into the last team we're going to discuss, I just feel like
No,
that
you're right.
era of the NWA World Tag Team Champions, like it was
Yep.
just yin and yang.
Yeah, I
You know,
think
I
that
mean, it,
yeah,
it was the Hardys and Edge and Christian.
yes, yes, and I think that the TNA produced NWA Tag Team Champions were right on par with the Crockett era, without doubt in my mind saying that. It's tag team wrestling in TNA, and NWA TNA was second to none for me.
Chef's kiss.
Exactly. And it was these two teams that the only TNA show I ever went to, coming to 2004, saw the tag titles change hands, but it was the tag team rivalry between these two teams that closed that show and ended, for a time, that rivalry.
Yeah.
We'll start with Triple X. And yes, all three of them, because they had the Freebird rule. Primetime, who, by the way, I don't know if you saw Frankie Kazarian's recent social post.
I saw him
Prime
saving
time,
Shelly
dude.
and Skipper, baby.
Oh man, it was so good, and Felix looks good, man. He can go back in the ring. Like, good for him, man. But yeah, primetime Felix Skipper, Low Key, and our buddy, the fallen angel himself, Christopher Daniels, in those ridiculous sunglasses and freaking red scarf that only Chris could pull off.
Damn right.
Damn right, baby. Triple X. I mean, to this day,
definitely another Vince Russo booking idea, because you think of the double entendre there.
Of course. Oh, and they were part of Sports Entertainment Extreme.
Entertainment Extreme, Sex.
Yeah. Triple X and Sex. Yeah.
With their theme song that said S-E-X, Sex Sells. Yeah. I love you, Russo. Yeah. I love you, Russo. I'm one of the few people on the multiverse of media that will genuinely defend you 99.9% times. I can't defend you on that one,
no.
Bro. I can't defend you on that, bro. For real, bro. That was bad, bro. Bro, go to the corner, bro. You're on timeout.
That's right. Go on timeout, bro. That was rough, bro. Oh, so anyway, Triple X, and you know what? Hell with it, because I can't talk about the other. I can't.
Yeah, and the last one we're gonna bring up. I mean, if we're talking about the TNA era,
yeah. Oh,
you've got to talk about America's Most Wanted.
Yeah, is James's belt upside down? It is. Freaking cowboy. Anyway, I just noticed that right now.
He drunk.
Well, I mean, it's James Storm.
Yeah, he on that cowboy shit. Before there was Hangman Adam Page,
that's right.
Real cowboy shit.
That's right.
Yeah, I was doing infringement.
I was doing more cowboy shit in high school as a Canadian cowboy than Hangman Page ever did. Fuck that nonsense. Anyway,
more of a reason to hate the Hangman.
That's right.
Gimmick infringement, biting ass.
That's right.
Brock Lesnar's got more cowboy shit than fucking Adam Page does.
Freaking Brock Lesnar took a giant, more bigger cowboy shit just this morning, I'm sure. Anyway, we are having way too much on Adam Page.
I was going to say, why did you have to go to that one, Jeff? Jesus.
Damn. But I digress. For love of God.
The t-shirt, I did.
Please do that. We need the money. We need beer money. Oh, wait, wrong team. Go ahead. Because they were TNA Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
AMW and Triple X. I mean, yin and yang, Coke and Pepsi.
Like I said, the Hardys and Edge and Christian. They were that counterbalance there.
Yeah. They made for a unbelievable rivalry, trading the tag titles, holding the tag titles with each other's partners at one point. Which was it was so bizarre.
For real.
Right?
Talk about some strange bedfellows.
Seriously. Straight up Russo booking, but it worked. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And it led to that match that, Jeff still has the bruises on his arms from SoCal Val digging her nails into his skin as primetime Elix Skipper walked the top of that cage.
Oh, God. And man, it just, you think about Chris Harris being in that Road Warrior Doomsday spot, pretty much. They're just sitting there just waiting for it to happen, right? But man, yeah, people heap all the praise on Elix. and rightfully so because he's a
Yeah, I was
fucking
gonna say,
madman.
you've gotta give the man the praise for number one being insane enough to do it.
Right.
Then you got to factor in the balance on something that is not that stable.
No.
And not that wide.
No.
Oh my God. All it would have taken was for the top of that cage to be a little bit moist.
Yep.
Or for it to sway just a little too much.
Yep.
And we got another Owen Hart incident.
Because freaking Skipper's either in the front row, landing on people,
which might be the only thing that would save him.
Yeah, or he's landing in the
falls
rain.
The other way into the rain, done for.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
More than likely. But it's possible.
Yes,
possible that the best case scenario, and please don't lynch me for calling this the best case scenario.
Right.
Is that he compresses his neck and is paralyzed.
Right. Yeah. Because of the nature of the
status in a wheelchair, never walking again.
Right.
Best case scenario if he survives.
Yeah. But just the way it came off, he walked it, he pulled it off, and fucking Wildcat went with him, man. It was just how it's not still. I haven't seen a recent list from Impact Wrestling, so I don't know. But if that's not still the greatest moment in TNA Impact history, I'll freaking it's just.
I will justifiably admit that there's a lot I haven't seen in TNA in the post Hogan era.
Right.
It has to at least still be top 3, though.
It has to be. And
I mean, it's possible that it could have been usurped in the last 12 years.
Maybe.
But it has to be top 3.
And
if not still number 1, because it's such a holy shit moment. It's that initial guttural reaction when you watch Mankind get thrown off the cell into the tables. You know, granted, far more extreme because the danger and the stunt provided. But it's that initial reaction when you see that for the first time. It's like, oh my God, he is dead.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And then you see him get up, and then you see him fall through the top of the cell. Oh my God, he is dead.
Yeah.
And then they wheel him on the freaking stretcher, and he gets up and he comes back to the ring, and Taker's like, dude's crazy as a motherfucker.
Yeah,
it's that same guttural reaction. When you see him start to stand up and get his balance, you can almost hear the hush come over the crowd. And if it wasn't for Tenay and West on commentary talking, you would be able to hear a pin drop in that arena.
Right.
But because they're talking on commentary, you know that stuff is still happening. And it's just like, oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you what, being there and not having Mike and Don in my ear, and like I said, I make a ha-ha about it now 20 years later. But yeah, I mean, Aaron and I are up there with up in the not in the crow's nest, but like up in the cheaper seats at the Impact Zone. I mean, you're all free seats in Impact, but up there in the risers, and just seeing him sit there and scoot himself up. Aaron and I and Val are just, I mean, we know what's going to happen because it's going to be something spectacular. We just don't know what. And yeah, to this day, as Elix is walking across the top of that cage, man, my arm's being dug into, and we're all just, oh shit. It was just a moment in time that will probably never be eclipsed for me, because it was so not to be punny, but impactful.
Yeah.
And just such a unbelievable, literally unbelievable moment. Like, you wouldn't believe something like that would happen.
Yeah. And think about this, Jeff. Next year will mark the 20th anniversary of that match.
I know. I know. And
So I'm putting it out here to you guys right now. If you would like to see Noah Foster and myself do a retro call of that match, I need to get up to 25 subscribers in the members only section of the Casa D18 Studios channel.
There you go.
I'm at 6.
Yep.
You've got a year and a half to get me up to 25 subscribers.
And I will gladly join in on that call because you guys have been talking about doing the TNA calls anyway as part of the throwback. So,
so
I
if
will
you
gladly...
would like to see Noah and I call that match with Jeff in their third man in the booth, the members only section of the Casa D18 Studios channel needs to get up to 25 paid subscribers by that time next year.
There you go. So yeah, there it is, kids. There's your motivation. Get on there. Get on the Casa. Do the subscribing things.
So like we mentioned, for those of you that are already subscribed to the members only section, kicking off tomorrow is my review of Capital Punishment, the only Capital Punishment, thank God, from 2011, featuring Barack Obama himself, kind of, sort of, but not really, getting involved in the shenanigans. I'm just saying, Barack Obama and Santino Marella, and Santino Marella wants to show him the Cobra. If you've never seen it, I'm just going to let your imagination run wild from there, just like Hulkamania. And then beginning on Thursdays, that's when the good stuff really starts to kick in, as I'll be taking a look at the Black and Gold NXT all month, starting with NXT from Secret to Sensation on July 6th, NXT Greatest Matches on July 13th, The Best of 2017 on July 20th, and The Best of NXT TakeOver 2018 on July 27th. And much like we mentioned, as far as the Turning Point call and doing retro match calls, currently in the community section, up for vote only for members. You can vote on which Money in the Bank ladder match you would like for Noah and I to do a retro call of. Every Money in the Bank match, with the exception of the one-on-ones like Matt Hardy versus Edge, Briefcase, Loser Leaves Raw, etc.,
yes,
are up there to vote on.
Absolutely.
Beginning this past week on Wednesday, I want to say it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. My mind's been doing 100 other things.
That's fair.
The second round of voting went up.
Yes.
The first round was done.
Yep.
And all the ones that either won their poll or tied on their poll are up there for the next vote.
There you go. 3
votes. By the time this goes up, I think the last one will have either gone up or be going up. And then we'll run it back until we have one match that wins. Ironically, the only match in any of the polls that got 100% of the voting was the 2014 Money in the Bank match.
Wow.
Everything else was split or tied in the polls. So that's the only one where 100% of the people that voted in that poll wanted that match.
That was a good Money in the Bank show, if I remember right, too. Because you had Seth winning. You had John becoming champion because of Brian's having to, forfeit due to the injuries. So, which led to the SummerSlam match we don't talk about. I don't anyway.
And then, of course, for all of my other stuff, you can find me on Instagram, the Renegade JJ Williams, on Twitter at ROWJJ Williams, and of course, the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel.
Yep. And you've been all month long celebrating 60 years of existence anyway. Yes. Of one Johnny Depp. We had all 3 of these movies go up this week for you, brother, and then tomorrow is your release Saturday, which is Johnny Depp, but
Oh, but that's how we're going to kick off the month of July is The Flash, and then we go into 31 days of Disney.
Yeah.
And oh man, is it going to be an insane one.
I love it. I love it. I actually took the time in between the other 45 things I've done just this week alone and watched these movies back in the post-Renaissance era. So I'm looking forward to hearing your current thoughts on them because I know you've seen most of them. So
Okay.
So,
That's not
a good chunk of
entirely accurate.
yeah, okay.
From Meet the Robinsons on, I've seen most, if not all.
Okay.
Prior to Meet the Robinsons, I only think I had seen Emperor's New Groove and Lilo and Stitch.
Oh wow, okay.
Start to finish all the way through.
Wow.
Maybe I think I saw Leroy and Stitch also, but I'm not 100%.
That was
But all the others that came like pre Meet the Robinsons,
right.
I may have seen like parts of, but
Oh,
I've
wow,
never
okay.
seen start to finish except for those two. Like
Wow.
Bolt. Every time I sit down and I try to sit through Bolt, I
Right.
always get bored.
Yeah, it's
So
a bit of a
this is going to
challenge.
be the
Yeah.
first time I'm going to have to physically get
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
Atlantis, Treasure Planet, movies that you think would be right up my alley. Never saw.
Yeah. The ones
And especially with our love of Michael J. Fox.
right. The ones I remember being a challenge were both Brother Bear movies because I tried so many times at Teresa's to watch it with the kids. And within 10 minutes, I'm on the couch just
Yeah.
and it's not that it was boring, it was just well, I mean, being a new parent's never easy. Sleep is a thing, or lack of sleep is a thing, I should say. But they just never drew me in, and that's been the knock on the post-Renaissance era Disney movies. So I'm glad you're getting a chance to showcase them the entire month, all 31 days or whatever it is. So, looking forward to hearing your updated thoughts.
Put it to you this way. Post Meet the Robinsons, there are 3 movies I haven't seen start to finish.
Okay.
Bolt, the new Winnie the Pooh, and the newest one, Strange World.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the Winnie the Pooh movie all the way through.
Prior to, like I said, there's only 2 that I know for a fact I've seen all the way through. Maybe 3 counting Leroy and Stitch. So
Awesome.
there's as many pre-Meet the Robinsons that I have seen as there are post-Meet the Robinsons that I haven't seen.
Well, in that case, I'm looking forward to your first thoughts on these movies
Yes.
for the most part, because you said you
And
haven't
like
watched
I
those,
said,
but-
man, I've been diligent at work. I've been watching as much as I can. I've been filming as much as I can because this weekend is going to be insane.
and we'll get to that momentarily. So, if you tuned in this week or tried to tune in this Stat Boy Sports Bar featuring Jory Lou, you noticed the sign was on the door. They are closed, and they'll be closed this coming Tuesday as well. They will not be in the bar this week because they are observing the 4th. So we will see them at 7:00 Eastern, 4 Pacific next Tuesday, the 11th. That will be a JJ produced endeavor because I will be at the House of Mouse with in-laws. I'll leave it there. But of course, please follow both Mikey and Dory on Twitter at Hathaway Lou at LB Stack 1977 and keep up with them because they are being active on Twitter in their absence. So please check them out. As far as tomorrow goes, JJ mentioned it.
I have 4 things going up on my channel alone tomorrow.
Oh, I know. It's bananas. And we're starting because as we observed with all these shows overseas, WWE hates us.
But you know what? As much as we joke about how the WWE hates us with these early starts, I'm really enjoying them going to these foreign markets for these shows.
I am too.
You know, you figure you started it with Backlash in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
And then you had the Saudi show.
Yes.
And now we're going to London. Honestly, I would not be mad if they kept it just for 1 year where all the B shows as they were went to overseas or even non-US countries. You can even include Canada and Mexico. and just keep the big four in the States for 1
Yeah.
year to really show how WWE is the global juggernaut that they make themselves appear to be.
Absolutely.
But I mean, yeah, tomorrow, 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, 2 o'clock Eastern time, we begin the coverage
Yes.
of Money in the Bank with
That's
our
how it starts.
predictions and
Yes.
our match thoughts and how Renegade would organize the match card, which has been pretty spot on as of
You're doing
late.
good with that. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But
You know,
the overlaying theme for tomorrow across this multiverse of media that has been supplanted under my name, and I can't get over how awesome that is to this even now, is that we are growing the family. We are expanding by 2 officially tomorrow with the return of the Greg Cherry brand and the addition of Rangers of Wrestling with our buddy Datilla. It's I'm not trying to get too philosophical because it's too freaking early, and we're trying to get off the air for SmackDown. I mean, we have a little bit of time for SmackDown. I just can't thank everybody enough. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm gonna be dog ass tired, full disclosure, because I'm working late tonight. I'm gonna be on that bus in the morning to get my ass home. I'll be in the door, I think, at 10. I hope at 10. But I'm working. I have already worked the last Wednesday, Thursday, working tonight, off tomorrow, then I'm working Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So I am back in the groove, brother. Tell you what.
He's back and better than ever.
And I'm actually less bald than Bischoff now, thanks to Top Guy Weekend. So there you go.
Oh boy.
But for real though, I am so looking forward to July and the rest of this year. It's going to be fun. We've got Money in the Bank tomorrow morning. We've got open mic night as per usual tomorrow night.
And then smushed in the middle of that, you've got my new release Saturday of the Flash, and you've got the Emperor's New Groove as I kick off the Disney month.
Yeah,
and dropping at midnight is going to be the Capital Punishment review.
Yes.
So there's 4 things going up on the public side, 1 thing going up on the members only side, 5 different videos on my channel tomorrow.
Yeah, just tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff's only going to have 2.
Yeah.
Money in the Bank, open mic night.
And those are shared.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I will say this. I've been going over the calendar for July between just this week and picking up the hours or this coming week, I should say, and everything I got going on. I again have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have less than 7 days off this month because I'm either here with y'all or I'm working for the slave driver with the big ears.
We going to have a problem here?
No, sir. No, sir. No. Oh, where is he? No, sir. No, sir. Not at all, sir.
No, Mr. the Mouse.
Yeah, no, Mr. Mouse. Yes. But yeah, figure.
And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, watch more South Park.
Seriously, look it up, kids. My goodness. But yeah, I've got the next 3 after tomorrow working. The last 3 days, got 3 days I'm signing folks in. The park turns 68 start in July. I just, and it's part of our 100-year celebration, and I'm on cast, and I'm getting Goosey's feeling about it. So we need to get off the air before I start getting all weepy like I did with fucking Bryan Danielson again. Which I mean, over, by the way.
For those of you that don't know, that's why I've been doing the Disney movies in the month of July, is to commemorate the birthday, the anniversary of the park. What's going to be weird is come next year, now that I will have already run through the Snow White lineage.
Yep. What do you do?
I'm working on things. You know, I still want to kind of try to keep things family friendly.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at non-Disney animated.
Yep.
There's also live action Disney movies.
We got a huge live action library, so.
And I'm not even counting the live action remakes because I want to wait until that gets to be about 30, so that can be a full month.
Yeah. You know,
but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's some things percolating in my head.
absolutely.
Trying to wait a couple more years to do the Pixar anniversary.
Yes. Yeah, I really think that, if we time it right, if we theme it right, if we work things out, we can find a way to get, either you to, shoot the segments, I mean, God, for Pixar, you can do the random reviews at the Lamplight Lounge and
Yeah.
just have it all behind it, so
February of 2026 will be Pixar's 40th anniversary. So I am trying to wait until then
wow.
to do the Pixar films.
86, huh?
Yeah.
Damn. We getting old, brother.
And it gives them a little more time to release stuff because as of right now, from Toy Story through Elemental, there's only 26 Pixar movies.
God, that seems
So
such a
giving 3 more years gives them time to get a couple more movies out there
Yeah,
so that I can hopefully get up to, but it's February, so I really only need to get to 28. So I
True.
really only need 2
True.
more movies.
True. Come on, Pixar, you got this.
So we'll see what happens with
Oh,
that
yes.
down the road a piece. But yeah, that's one of the things been going through my head.
I dig it. I dig it. Like I said, I can't wait for, like I said, I'm clocking in here in about 45 minutes or so, but it's July is going to be so much going on, but so much fun, and I'm just looking forward to every bit of it between work, and this work. I'm here
Yeah.
for it.
So
Oh,
we haven't asked this question yet, but now that we're done with the shills, what did you guys think of our list?
yes, yes.
Let us know in the comments. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over there next to Meacham. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here and engage us in that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that we're always asking you guys for in the comment box. Meacham, if there's no other shills,
I think we're good to go, bro.
For the West Coast Professor, Jeff motherfucking Meacham, I am the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Thank you very much for joining us today as we have discussed our top 10 National Wrestling Alliance World Tag Team Champions. And we will see you in 2 weeks for another episode of the Dads, Not Always on Wrestling.